Hello, I'm Wallace Boss, an ex-Madison Avenue creative who's pursuing this new media project called the Muse. Conversations amongst kindred spirits from all over about creativity so that people don't feel like an island off on their own. So here are some of the conversations I've had so far, just to give you a little taste.
It's like practicing the scales, and so you can play a piano or whatever. At the same time, practicing the scales is not the creative act. The creative act comes somehow in the particular performance.
We go on vacation and I have a little tiny bag for clothes and a big bag of stuff. You know, I'm going to hand sew. My book comes along because if ideas come, I've got to write them down. So, you know, we're sitting in the middle of the desert and it's just beautiful all around, and my heart rate is supposed to go down. I'm supposed to empty my mind and just be there. But on my lap, there's always something. I'm like working because it just, the hands have to go.
I'd love to be a role model who says, look, you can follow your dream. You may not make a lot of money, but you will find something absolutely beautiful inside yourself that is unique and that you can say, this is why I'm here. And if I could just do that, that would be enough for me, if I could have that effect on some people. Yeah.
And there are ways of getting yourself into the habit of getting yourself out of the habit. Because autopilot is kind of a big enemy of creativity, of creative expression. I mean, we are all on autopilot. It's part of life. And I think you do a good explanation of the brain physiology.
If anytime you're doing something that is new behavior or changing a pattern of behavior, you know, there's new work going on.
You know what I hear a lot is like when you go to galleries or museums, people will say like, man, I can do that. And I'm just like, of course you can, you know, like make that shit. You know? You can look at work that way. Everybody can make it.
And then sometimes I just look at things and as my students say, Miss Burgess, sometimes you are the most random person I know. And I'm like, yeah, and I hope I never change, because when you become unrandom, then you're boring.
Whenever you get a new job with a client, you've taken a bet. It's a wager that you can come up with the ideas within a certain time.
Right, yeah.
An artist can take a bit longer. They probably have a show deadline. We have to nudge the muse along, find ways to persuade the muse, make the muse want to work with us.
One of the distinguishing characteristics of creative people is that they are very productive. So they do a lot, they make a lot, they think a lot, they write a lot. And because they do so much, they have more options.
It's that moment where there is not a difference between the inside and the outside. It's electricity, you know, just drags them, pulls them together tight, and you're like, oh, that's the time right now, you know. That's how it is for me.
In one respect, for me, it's about extending myself out there, and this really kind of a need to be known, you know who I am. Both I need to know that, and I need others to know that. But this compulsion has been with me since I was, God, 4 years old or so. Not that I was conscious of it back then, but somehow that old adage about know thyself is what drives me.
A lot of people underestimate the value of the arts. I think particularly in America, we overvalue capitalism and commercialism, and we undervalue the contribution that the arts can make to healing divisions within people and in the world.
I had one young man who studied with me called me up one day and he said, "Are you still just doing bean pots?" Yeah, I Still doing bean pots and casseroles and sauteing dishes? I think you should get into the art market. You make more money. It's like, no thank you, I'm very content making bean pot. So then about 1.5 years later, he gives me a call. I'm going to be doing monotypes. They sell. And it's like, I don't think that he quite understands that the person that is the artist, the creator, has to imbue those vessels with something that people can feel. And then that's what attracts people. It's not about making a vessel and wanting to sell it. That's such a disservice to her. Because I make them because they want to be born.
I think that creative manifestation fills the void where there is an intense desire. Along with that desire, you have an intention and you have a commitment. I think that the universe is there to back you up to the level of your commitment to it. And it's not how well you convince other people of how committed you are. It's that the commitment that you make to yourself.
And I think once you start getting good at something, you're much harder on yourself. So when it's all fun and games and you're creating, and you got your crayons out and you're coloring out the lines and you don't care because you don't know what you're doing, it's so much easier. The second you get any knowledge or skill in your possession, suddenly it becomes much more serious and you can't screw around. And Pete Townsend, I read, he was like my hugest hero growing up, and I heard that he hated writing music and he hated playing the guitar.
Oh, really?
And as a writer, that really gave me hope. Like, if somebody can write Quadrophenia and hate it, I can write the best book in the world.
It's a little thing there that keeps gnawing at you, and you're trying to answer that question. You know, what you end up with is only what you end up with. But what you're doing is when you're making art, you're not the same person anymore. When you're actually in the process of making art, you're transcended who you think you are. Oh yeah.